A black luxury car stopped slowly in front of the big white gate. The sky was cloudy. It looked like it might rain. The car door opened, and a woman stepped out. She wore a long black coat, sunglasses, and high heels. Her face was calm, but her eyes were full of old pain. She looked up at the grand house in front of her. It was big, beautiful, and rich, just like she remembered. Nothing had changed. The same tall gate. The same white walls. The same garden full of red flowers. But something had changed. She was no longer the poor, helpless girl who once lived there. She was different now. Before she could take a step forward, a security guard came running. "Excuse me, madam," the guard said, standing in front of her. "This is private property. You can't be here." The woman stayed silent. She didn't move. She just kept looking at the house. "Madam, did someone invite you?" The guard asked again, a little louder. Now. Still no answer. She just took off her sunglasses and looked at him. The guard looked at her face. She looked familiar. But he couldn't remember from where. "I'm sorry," the guard said, getting nervous. "Are you lost?" The woman finally spoke, in a soft but strong voice. "No," she said. "This used to be my home." The guard was confused. "Your home? I think there's some mistake. This house belongs to Mr. Imran Khan's family." "I know," she said. "They threw me out many years ago." Before the guard could ask anything else, she pulled out a small card from her bag. It was black with gold letters. She handed it to the guard. "Give this to the lady of the house," she said. The guard looked at the card. His eyes went wide. He quickly walked back into the house. The woman stood still. She touched the old wall next to the gate. Her fingers ran across the stone. Her heart was beating fast. Memories hit her like waves. Flashback. 10 years ago. A young girl, maybe 17, was cleaning the floor. Her clothes were old. Her hands were tired. She heard laughter from the dining room. Her stepmother, Samina, and stepsister, Hira, were having lunch. Expensive food, silver plates. The girl wasn't allowed to eat with them. "Wash these plates." "After lunch?" Samina said loudly, not even looking at her. The girl didn't reply. She just nodded. "Don't forget," Hira said. "Tomorrow we have guests. Clean everything properly." That girl was Alia. She used to live in this house with her real father. He loved her. But after her mother died, he married Samina. After that, her life changed. Her father died in a car accident just 1 year later. That's when the real pain started. Samina took everything, the house, the money, and the power. Alia became nothing in her own home. No one stood up for her. No one helped her. Her relatives stayed quiet. She was just a girl with no support. One day, she was cleaning the garden when Samina came to her. "You don't belong here anymore," Samina said. "You are not my daughter. You are not welcome here." "But this is my father's house," Alia tried to say. "He left it for me," Samina lied. "And I say you're leaving." That night, in the rain, Alia was pushed out of the house. She had nothing. No money, no clothes, no plan. Just tears in her eyes. Present day. The woman, now grown up, stood at the same gate where she was once thrown out. Her name was no longer poor little Alia. The world knew her as Alia Khan, founder of AK Global, a billion-dollar business empire, but no one here knew that yet. The guard came back, walking fast, looking nervous. "Madam." "The lady of the house is busy," he said, holding the card in his hand. "She said she doesn't know any Alia Khan." Alia smiled. Of course they didn't know. They never expected her to return. They thought she disappeared forever. "That's all right," Alia said. She turned and walked away slowly. But the guard kept looking at the card. Something about that name. It sounded important. He went back inside the house. He showed the card to Hira. who was now older, married, and proud. She looked at the card. Aliyah Khan, founder and CEO. AK Global Forbes Top 30 Under 30. Time Woman of the Year. Hira dropped the A card. What did you say her name was? She asked the guard. Aliyah Khan, madam, he replied. She said this used to be her home. Hira felt cold. She remembered the girl. She remembered the rain, the tears, the night her stepmother threw Aliyah out. She's back, Hira whispered. Should I call her back? The guard asked. But Hira said nothing. She just stood there, frozen. Outside, Aliyah sat in her car again. She looked at the house once more. This time, not with sadness, but with power. They will know who I am, she whispered to herself. Not today, but very soon. As the car drove away, thunder rolled in the sky. A storm was coming, and it had Aliyah's name written all over it. Many years ago, before the fame, before the Forbes list, before the success, Aliyah Khan was just a kind, soft-spoken girl living in a big house that never felt like home. She was only 8 when her real mother died. Her father, Mr. Ashfaq Khan, was a kind man, a successful businessman. And he loved Aliyah more than anything in the world. He raised her with care, gave her the best education, and always told her, "You are my pride." But one day, everything changed. A new woman in the house, Aliyah, was 12 when her father married again. The new woman was beautiful, sweet-talking, and always smiling. Her name was Samina. At first, Aliyah liked her. Samina brought her chocolates, helped her with school homework, and told bedtime stories. Aliyah missed her mother, so she felt happy. Someone cared again. But after the wedding, the truth came out, slowly. Samina didn't want Aliyah around her too much. She didn't like her asking questions. She didn't want her calling too late at night. Small things started to change. Then, Samina's daughter Hira came to live with them. She was the same age as Aliyah, but they were very different. Hira wore expensive clothes, had the latest phone, and was always rude to Aliyah. Still, Aliyah stayed quiet. She didn't want to hurt her father. She thought maybe it would get better. It didn't. A home that turned cold by the time Aliyah turned 15. The house didn't feel like home anymore. Her stepmother gave her old clothes to wear. Her birthday was forgotten. She had to eat in the kitchen while Hira and Samina dined at the table with silver spoons and shining glasses. Sometimes guests would visit. That's when Samina would pretend everything was perfect. "Oh, yes," she would say with a fake smile. "Aliyah is like my own daughter." But when the guests left, the smile disappeared. "Don't think you're special," Samina would whisper. "This is my house now." Even worse, her father had become distant. He looked tired, sick, and quiet. Aliyah could feel something was wrong, but he never told her. Then one night everything broke. The death that changed everything. It was raining the night Mr. Ashfaq Khan died. The news came in the middle of the night. A car crash. No warning, no goodbye. Aliyah sat on the stairs, holding a photo of her father, crying quietly, while the rest of the house made phone calls and spoke in low voices. The only person who truly loved her was gone. The funeral passed. People came and went. But Aliyah noticed something strange. No one talked about his will. No lawyer, no papers, nothing. She asked Samina, "Did Baba leave anything for me?" Samina laughed cruelly. "He left everything to me. You have nothing." "But he would never do that," Aliyah said, shocked. "Are you calling me a liar?" Samina snapped. "Go ask someone." "Oh, wait, you have no one to ask." The first signs of evil. From that day, Aliyah's life turned darker. She was made to do house chores, cleaning, washing, even cooking for guests. Hira laughed at her, calling her maid girl. Sometimes they took her school bag and threw it in the trash. You live here for free, Samina would say. At least work for it. Aliyah wanted to leave, but where would she go? She had no money, no relatives, and no strength left. Then came the final blow. One evening, Aliyah walked past the drawing room and heard voices. She stopped. Just throw her out, Hira was saying. It's time, Samina replied. She's 17 now. She'll start asking for college fees. We don't need her. But what if people ask? Say she ran away. Who cares? She's nothing. Aliyah stood outside the door, frozen. Her heart broke. Her own family was planning to remove her like garbage. She went to her small room and packed a few clothes in a plastic bag. Her hands were shaking. Her eyes were full of tears. She didn't sleep that night. The night she was thrown out, the next. Morning, Aliyah came to the dining table. Can I talk to you? She asked Samina. Samina smiled coldly. Yes, get out. What? You heard me, Samina said loudly. Leave this house now. You don't belong here. But where will I go? Not my problem. This is my father's house. No, it's mine now. Hira came in and threw her bag at her feet. Here's your trash. Don't forget anything, Aliyah begged. Please, just let me stay until I finish school. I'll leave after that. No, Samina said. You'll leave today, right now. And just like that, in the rain, with the neighbors watching silently, Aliyah Khan was pushed out of her own home. Outside, alone. The gate closed behind her. She stood there, soaked in rain, holding a plastic bag of clothes and a school book. No umbrella. No money. No one to call. She walked for hours with wet shoes and a hungry stomach. No one helped. People looked away. She sat under a bus stop late that night, trying not to cry, trying to stay awake. Cold wind hit her face. Her hands were red from the rain. I won't break, she whispered to herself. I won't let them win. And that's when the story truly began. Rain fell from the sky like it never wanted to stop. Aliyah Khan stood outside the gate of her house, or what used to be her house, with a small plastic bag in her hand and pain in her heart. She looked at the tall white gate one last time. No one was watching now. No one cared. The lights inside were still on. Laughter came from the living room. Her stepmother and stepsister were having dinner. Maybe they were celebrating. They had won. She had lost. Walking with no direction, Aliyah didn't know where to go. She started walking. The rain soaked her clothes. Her shoes made a squishing sound with every step. Her school books were wet. Her fingers were numb. Her body was cold. But her heart was burning with pain. She passed closed shops, dark streets, and empty footpaths. People in cars drove by without looking. Some shopkeepers closed their shutters early. No one even asked, "Are you okay?" It was like she was invisible. She saw a tea stall still open. A man was pouring chai into a glass cup. Aliyah stood near the stall, hoping someone might offer her a warm drink. But when the man saw her wet clothes and tired eyes, he said coldly, "No free tea here. Go beg somewhere else." Aliyah turned away. She didn't beg, not even once. She kept walking. Finding a corner to sleep hours passed. Her legs were hurting. Her stomach was empty. Finally, she found a small space near a closed shop under an iron roof. It wasn't safe, it wasn't clean, but it was dry. She sat down, hugging her knees. Her bag was wet. Her hair stuck to her face. She pulled her scarf tight around her shoulders. She wanted to cry, but her eyes were too tired. She closed her eyes and whispered, "Baba, where are you? Why did you leave me like this?" She held the photo of her father, the only thing she had kept safe from the rain. It was torn now, but his smile was still there. That smile gave her a little strength. The stranger, with kind eyes. A little before midnight, she heard footsteps. Aaliyah got scared. She thought someone was coming to hurt her. She held her bag close and looked up. An old man in a long coat stood near her. He looked tired but kind. He had a food delivery bag in his hand. He looked at her, then looked at the rain. "You have no home?" he asked gently. Aaliyah didn't answer. "You hungry?" She nodded slowly. The man opened his bag and took out a box. "Someone canceled this order. It's still warm. You can have it." Aaliyah looked at him. She didn't know if she could trust him, but her stomach growled. She took the box carefully. "Thank you," she whispered. "Where are your parents?" The man asked. Aaliyah stayed quiet. Her lips trembled, but she said nothing. The man didn't force her to talk. "There's a shelter 2 streets away. For girls who have no home. I can take you there." Aaliyah looked into his eyes. They were soft, honest. She followed him. A bed. After the storm, the shelter wasn't fancy. It was an old building with broken windows. But it had food, beds, and warm blankets. The manager, an old woman named Nusrat Appa, asked Aaliyah some questions. Aaliyah lied at first. She said her parents were in another city, that she got lost. She was scared to tell the truth, but Nusrat Appa didn't push. "You can stay here," she said. "We'll help you." That night, Aaliyah slept on a soft mattress for the first time in days. She held her father's photo close and closed her eyes. She was safe. But she had nothing else. No money, no family, no future. Only one thing was left inside her. A small spark. A little voice that whispered, "They took everything from you. Now, you must take back your life." The first morning of her new life, when Aaliyah woke up, the sun was shining outside. She sat up and looked around. Other girls were also there, some crying, some sleeping, some just staring at the walls. But they all had the same pain in their eyes, the same lost hope. Aaliyah knew she didn't want to stay like this forever. She had to get out. She had to rise. And she would, not for revenge, but for her father, and for the little girl inside her who was once too scared to speak. The sun rose slowly, shining through broken glass windows of the shelter. Aaliyah opened her eyes and sat up. Her body ached, her hair was messy, and her face looked tired. But her eyes? Her eyes were stronger. She had survived the night, a room full of lost girls. The shelter was quiet in the morning. Around her were many girls like her, some younger, some older. They all had different faces, but the same pain. Nusrat Appa walked in with a soft smile. "You're awake," she said. Aaliyah nodded. "Come eat breakfast. Then we'll talk." Aaliyah followed her to the small dining area. There was simple food on the table. Bread, tea, boiled eggs. It wasn't much, but it felt like gold to Aaliyah. She hadn't eaten properly in days. As she sat, a girl next to her whispered, "First time here?" Aaliyah nodded. The girl gave a half smile. "Same for me last month. My uncle tried to sell me. I ran away." Aaliyah looked at her with wide eyes. "That's horrible." The girl shrugged. "It happens." Telling her story after breakfast, Nusrat Appa sat with Aaliyah in a quiet room. "You don't have to tell me everything," she said gently, "but we need to know how to help you." Aaliyah stayed silent for a few seconds. Then slowly, her voice shaking, she began. "My father died. My stepmother threw me out of the house. I have no one, no money. I want to finish school, but I don't know how." Tears came again. Aaliyah quickly wiped them. "Nusrat!" Appa held her hand. "You're not alone now. We can help. But you'll have to be strong." "I will," Aaliyah said softly. "I just want to become something. I want to prove I was not a mistake." working by day, studying by night. The shelter helped Aliyah join a nearby government school. She started going to classes. Again. She had no fancy uniform, no new books, but she had something more powerful: willpower. After school, she worked small jobs, cleaning a tailor shop, folding clothes at a boutique, washing dishes at a roadside dhaba. She never complained. Every rupee she earned, she saved. She walked long distances. She skipped lunch many days. She studied at night under a weak yellow bulb. Sometimes she fell asleep with books on her lap. People laughed at her. "You're wasting your time," they said. "Girls like you don't become successful." But Aliyah never replied. She kept working, kept learning, kept growing. One day, the shelter was full. A few months later, the shelter became overcrowded. More girls arrived. Beds were short. Food was less. Nusrat Appa came to Aliyah one evening. "You're doing well," she said, "but we may not be able to keep you here much longer." Aliyah nodded. She understood. "Do you have anywhere else to go?" Aliyah thought for a moment. "No," she said, "but I'll manage." And just like that, she left the shelter. Not with sadness, but with strength. She had survived before. She could do it again. Back to the streets became her home again. She found an old bench in a small park where no one bothered her. She used her school bag as a pillow. Her books were still with her. At night, she held her father's photo close and whispered, "Baba, I'm okay." But deep down, she was not. The nights were cold. Stray dogs barked. Mosquitoes bit her skin. Sometimes, drunk men passed by laughing loudly. She would sit up all night, holding a rock in her hand, just in case. She ate dry bread and drank water from public taps. She was alone. Again, a light in the darkness. One day, while working at the tailor shop, a lady customer noticed her. "You're very polite," the lady said. "What's your name?" "Aliyah," she replied. "Do you study?" "Yes, I go to school." The woman smiled. "You speak well? Do you want a better job?" Aliyah hesitated. "I run a small office," the lady said. "We need a part-time assistant. Just help with files and tea. I'll pay you more than this place does." Aliyah's heart beat fast. Was this real? "Yes, please," she said. The first real step. That office changed everything. It was small, just 2 rooms, but it had a computer, files, phones, and polite people. Aliyah watched everything. How they talked, how they typed, how they handled work. And one day, when the receptionist didn't show up, the lady told Aliyah, "You sit at the front desk." "I don't know how," Aliyah said nervously. "Try," the lady replied. "You're smart." And she did. She answered phones, took notes, typed emails, slowly at first, then faster. And when clients came, she welcomed them with a warm, confident smile. No one knew this girl had once slept on the streets. No one knew she still didn't have a real home. They just saw her as a hard-working assistant. But inside her heart, Aliyah had already built a palace of dreams. Aliyah sat at the front desk of the small office. She wore a plain shalwar kameez, her hair tied back, and her old shoes hidden under the table. But her eyes were focused, and her smile was warm. No one could tell that she was once homeless. No, one could guess she used to sleep on benches and eat dry bread. She had changed, and now her life was about to change too. The office that gave her a chance. The office belonged to Mrs. Rahana Ahmed, a soft-spoken businesswoman who ran a startup that helped women open small home businesses, cooking, sewing, crafts. Rehana had noticed something different in Aliyah. She wasn't just polite. She was sharp. She remembered names, dates, numbers. She noticed mistakes in documents. She even helped explain forms to new clients. One day, Rehana gave her a test. "Can you make a report on these women?" she asked, handing Aliyah a file. I'll try, Aliyah said. She didn't know how to use Excel properly, but she watched YouTube videos on a borrowed phone from a coworker. She stayed after hours and learned formulas. She made the report, clean, neat, clear. The next morning, Rihanna was surprised. You did this? Yes, Aliyah said. From where did you learn? Internet. Rihanna smiled. Good. You're learning fast. That day, Aliyah felt something she hadn't felt in years. Confidence. She found her talent in the next few months. Aliyah learned everything she could. Typing, filing, scheduling, emails. She listened to how Rihanna spoke with clients. She copied her tone, her body language, her style. She didn't waste a second. Other staff started calling her Mini Madam. Clients praised her. One even asked, "Is she your daughter?" Rihanna only smiled. But inside, she had started caring for Aliyah, not as an assistant, but as a girl who reminded her of her younger self. One evening, after all staff had left, Rihanna sat with Aliyah. "You're special," she said. "No," Aliyah replied softly. "I just work hard." "Sometimes," Rihanna said, "that's all it takes to be special." Aliyah's first income, Aliyah's salary was small, just 6,000 rupees a month. But to her, it felt like a million. She rented a tiny room, just one bed and a fan. She kept it clean. She bought her own food. She no longer needed to sleep in shelters or parks. She saved half her money, and with the rest, she did something unexpected. She went to a stationery shop and bought a diary. In it, she wrote a title. How? I will change my life. Page 1. Step 1. Learn skills. Step 2. Finish school. Step 3. Start my own business. She didn't know what kind of business yet, but something inside her was waking up, a spark, a voice that said, "You were not born to be small." A class that changed her path one afternoon. Rihanna came into the office holding a flyer. "There's a free computer training course for girls," she told Aliyah. "Even some basic business classes. You should try." Aliyah's heart raced. "Can I work and study both?" "If anyone can, it's you," Rihanna said. Aliyah joined the evening class. It was tough. She worked all day and studied till late. She slept only 5 hours a night, but she never missed a single class. She learned PowerPoint, email marketing, website basics, how to write proposals, and even how to register a business. She sat in the front row, took notes, asked questions. One teacher noticed her and said, "You have the mind of an entrepreneur." She didn't know the meaning of entrepreneur at first. She Googled it that night. A person who builds a business from an idea. She smiled. That was her. She helped someone. And got an idea. One day, a poor girl came to Rihanna's office. "My mother makes achar pickle at home," the girl said, "but we don't know how to sell it." Rihanna was busy, so she asked Aliyah, "Can you help her?" Aliyah met the girl. They talked. Aliyah took notes, asked about ingredients, prices, bottles. That evening, she stayed late and made a simple logo, a name, Ami's Achar, and even a free Facebook page. She uploaded photos of the jars, wrote a nice description, and added a phone number. In 2 days, 5 orders came. The girl came back crying. "We never sold anything before. You helped us. Thank you." Aliyah's hands shook. For the first time, she felt what it was like to help someone grow. That was it. That was her talent. The spark became a flame. Aliyah realized something important. She didn't just want to work in an office. She wanted to build something. She wanted to help other women like that girl, mothers, daughters, girls with no voice, girls like her. She started working on weekends, helping small home businesses make social media pages, writing ads, clicking pictures. She didn't take money. She just wanted to learn. She saw a future, and she whispered to herself, "One day, I will have my own company." my own office, my own name. The girl who once slept on the streets was now dreaming with open eyes. Aliyah was no longer just a quiet office girl. She was now a girl with a dream. Every evening, after finishing work, she sat on the floor of her small room, her notebook open, her mind full of ideas. She didn't watch movies. She didn't waste time on gossip. She just wrote. She drew logos, brand names, ideas for helping women. She whispered to herself, "One day, I will start a company, a platform to help poor women sell their homemade things online." Telling her dream for the first time one Sunday, Aliyah went to a women's networking event. It was her first time attending anything like that. Many young girls were there. Dressed well, speaking in English, laughing confidently, Aliyah felt small in her simple clothes. Still, when it was time for introductions, she stood up. "My name is Aliyah," she said, nervous. "I work as an assistant, but I have a dream. I want to start a business that helps poor women sell their home products, like achar, clothes, bags, candles." People looked at her. At first, no one said anything. Then one girl smiled, a fake smile. "You mean like a charity?" "No," Aliyah said. "Like a real business, but for women who don't have education or shops. I will help them market and sell." A boy in a suit laughed. "You think you can run a business? You don't even look like you finished college." A few people chuckled. Aliyah stood quietly. Her hands were cold. Her face turned red. She sat down. Her heart was breaking inside, but she didn't cry. Even friends didn't believe her. The next day at the office, she told two of her co-workers about her dream. One girl replied, "Aliyah, you're sweet, but you're not made for big things." "Focus on your job," the other said. "Dreams don't pay rent." Even the T-boy joked. "When you become a CEO, don't forget us." Aliyah smiled politely. But deep down, something inside her was shaking. Was she really dreaming too big? Rihanna Madam's honest words later that week, Rihanna called her to the cabin. "I heard about your business idea," she said. Aliyah looked down. "Yes, but maybe it's silly." People laughed. Rihanna didn't laugh. Instead, she said, "It's not silly. It's strong." Aliyah looked up. "But," Rihanna continued, "dreams only work if you work. Most people only talk. Few actually start." Aliyah nodded slowly. "Will you just dream?" Rihanna asked. "Or will you take the first step?" "I will," Aliyah said, her voice quiet but clear. The first step, Aliyah Biz. That night, Aliyah sat in her room and created an Instagram page. Aliyah Biz tagline, "Helping women grow from home." She uploaded her first post, a picture of a handmade purse from a poor lady she knew from the shelter days. She wrote a simple caption, "Support her." She made this by hand. Only rise $3.50, free delivery. She got 2 likes, no orders. She posted again the next day. And the next, a week passed. Still no sales. People ignored her DMs. Some even asked rudely, "Why so expensive?" She was discouraged, but not destroyed. Her first order, then one night her phone buzzed. A DM. "Is the purse still available?" Aliyah's fingers shook. "Yes," she typed. The girl sent her address and paid online. Aliyah ran to the maker's home, packed the purse herself, and delivered it through a courier. She earned only Raras 40, but it was the sweetest Raras 40 in her life. She bought a small pastry to celebrate. Alone, in her room, she smiled. "Today, I became a businesswoman." They laughed, but she didn't stop. Weeks turned into months. People still laughed. Some said she was wasting time. Others mocked her name. Aliyah Biz? Sounds like a joke. But slowly, her page grew. More women sent her pictures of their homemade things, dupattas, sweets, earrings. Aliyah posted, promoted, replied, and delivered. Every time someone said, "You can't," she whispered to herself, "Watch me." The same girl who was thrown out by her family, the same girl who once begged for tea at a stall, was now becoming the reason other women were smiling again. Aliyah was tired. She worked at the office during the day, and at night she ran her small page, Aliyah Biz. She didn't sleep much. Her phone was always in her hand. Orders were still slow. Likes were low. But she didn't stop. Every time she wanted to give up, she remembered her father's words. Never beg for respect. Earn it. A strange message. One evening, as Aliyah sat in her small room, her phone buzzed. A message on Instagram. It was from a page with a blue tick. "Hi, we love what you're doing. Would you be open to an interview?" Aliyah blinked. Interview? With whom? She clicked the profile. It was a famous digital magazine for women entrepreneurs, thousands of followers, real success stories. Aliyah's hands shook as she replied, "Yes, thank you." The interview. They called her the next day. A young journalist asked simple questions. How did you start? Why are you helping women? What is your dream? Aliyah answered honestly. Her voice was soft, but her words were powerful. I was once homeless, she said. I know the pain of being ignored. That's why I want to give other women a chance to be seen. The interview ended. She didn't expect much. But then, everything changed. The post that changed her life. 2 days later, the magazine posted her story with the title, "The girl who slept on streets is now helping 100+ women sell online." It went viral within hours. People started sharing it. Comments flooded in. So inspiring. I cried reading this. Where can we order from her page? Girls like her deserve the world. Big pages reposted it. Celebrities liked it. Within 24 hours, her follower count jumped from 600 to 12,000. And then another shock came. A call from Forbes India. Aliyah was working late when her office landline rang. This is Zoya from Forbes India. We saw your story. We'd like to feature you in our under 30 women to watch list. Aliyah couldn't speak. She thought it was a prank, but it wasn't. They sent her an official email. Attached was a form and a title, Forbes Asia, Women Entrepreneurs Rising. Tears filled her eyes. The same girl who was once refused at every door was now being invited by the world's most respected platforms. Back to the same tea shop after the news, Aliyah walked back to a place from her past, the small tea stall where she once begged for chai. The same old uncle was still there. He looked up and said, I remember you. You were that poor girl." Aliyah smiled and handed him a business card. It said, Aliyah Khan Founder. Aliyah Biz Helping Women. Rise. The man's eyes widened. You made it? She nodded, and for the first time ever he didn't. Ask her to pay for tea. They all watched. Now the co-workers who once laughed now followed her on Instagram. The girls at that networking event now asked for her advice, even her old stepmother. Tried calling her again, but Aliyah didn't answer, because she wasn't the same anymore. The world knew her name. She started getting partnership offers. Newspapers printed her photo. TV shows invited her. She sat on stages she once watched from the back. People clapped when she spoke, but her heart stayed humble. She still walked the same streets, still visited shelters, still helped new women start small, because she hadn't forgotten. The girl she used to be. It had been 3 years since that night. Aliyah still remembered it clearly. The rain, the cold, the guard's voice. You can't sit here. Leave. Back then, she had no home, no name, no respect. Now, everything had changed. The invitation one morning, Aliyah's email pinged. A famous business event was happening in Karachi, a big women leadership conference at a luxury hotel. They were inviting her as the chief guest. The hotel's name? the same hotel that once pushed her away from their front steps. She stared at the name for a long time. Her heart beat faster, not with fear, but with fire. The day she returned, Aaliyah stepped out of the black car. She wore a white formal dress, with a soft pink dupatta over her shoulder. Simple, elegant. Reporters were waiting outside. Cameras clicked, people clapped. She walked up the same marble stairs where she once stood in the rain, shivering, the same stairs where she was not allowed to sit. Now, red carpet was laid for her. The same guard, old, now gray-haired, stood at the door. He looked at her face closely, and his eyes went wide. He recognized her. She smiled gently. He whispered, "Maaf kijiyega." "I didn't know." She nodded kindly. "It's okay. You were just doing your job." The speech that silenced the room inside the grand hall. Lights flashed. Banners read, "Empowering women, the future is female." The host announced her, "Please welcome, the founder of Aaliyah Biz, featured by Forbes, helping over 2,000 women start their own businesses." She stepped up to the mic. The crowd stood up and clapped. She waited a moment, and then spoke softly. "When I was 17, I sat on these steps outside this very hotel, hungry, wet, and rejected. Gasps filled the room. But today, I am standing inside, not as a guest, not as a beggar, but as a builder, as a dreamer, as a doer." She paused, then said slowly, "Your pain is not your end. It's your beginning." The room was silent. Some people wiped tears. A message to all the forgotten girls. That evening, Aaliyah was interviewed by a national news channel. The reporter asked, "What do you want to say to girls who feel they are nothing?" Aaliyah smiled and replied, "You're not nothing. You're just not seen. Yet. Work in silence. And one day the world won't just see you. It will stand for you." Her father finally saw her 1 month later. Aaliyah received a letter. It was from her father. It said, "I saw your face in the newspaper. I was wrong to leave you. You made me proud. I'm sorry. Can I meet you?" Aaliyah held the letter in her hands for a long time. Tears ran down her face, not of pain, but of peace. Full circle. Aaliyah built her own office, bright, open, and filled with colors. Photos of smiling women hung on the walls. She hired women who were rejected. She trained girls who never believed in themselves. And outside her office door, on a small wooden sign, it said, "Everyone is welcome here." The same girl once kicked out of her own home was now giving homes to others. She was no longer just Aaliyah. She was Aaliyah Khan, a name now respected, remembered, and loved.